Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am back with another process video. And for this layout, I am going to do a little bit of mixed media. So I'm just starting with a generic textured white cardstock and a little bit of clear gesso, and I'm just scraping that around the page. And then I waited for it to dry. And I pulled out some of my spray inks. This is a Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist and it is called Purple Pansy. And I don't have much of it left, but I really love this color. And the only water I had in my scrap room was this water brush, so I'm just diluting the ink down with some of the water from my water brush. And that second purple I just pulled in is called Purple Rain, and that is also a Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. So I'm liking this. Again, I'm just adding some water. I'm going to splatter some of the ink around. I'm going to let it drip and run and turn the page. And it's going to look like a hot mess, but it's going to come together eventually here. So I go ahead and I put that down. So I'm liking that. And then I want to put a little bit more green over on the right hand side. So I grabbed that Lindy's Stamp Gang, but it looked a little more gold. It was supposed to be gold and green together, but maybe I didn't shake it enough or something. So I grabbed this second green color, and it was a Tattered Angels that came in one of those 4-pack kits. So it doesn't have a color name written on it, so I don't know what color of green that is, but it's a beautiful soft green with a gold accent glimmer in it, so it's really pretty. And that just gives me a touch of green over there on the right. And then I saw that my ink was pooling there a little bit where, you know, my paper had warped from the gesso, so I just want to move that around a little bit. And then I'm just going to set it aside to dry. Now I have this pack of Recollections flowers, and I realized I didn't need all of these flowers on my layout, so I pull 3 of them aside so that I have enough to use on a future layout. So I pull those aside, and then the rest of them I also want to add these same purple colors to, just so that they match the background. So I'm just going to put a little bit of continuity in there. Again, I'm just adding some water. I'm going to dip the flowers in there, and I'm going to paint them a little bit. And that'll give them also a little bit more depth and shadow work on the flowers. This one, the petals were kind of creased, so the ink ran into the creases, and I love the look of that. So I'm just going to let that stay like it is with the pooling in the crease. And then I go and just dip some of these in there. And this first one, I think, oh, okay, I'm just going to do the center, and then I decide, you know what, I really want this one to be darker, so I'm going to really dip it in there and get it to be darker than the others. And I do the same thing with one of the smaller flowers. So that's all I'm going to do to those, and that just kind of brings in that same purple color from the background into my flowers, and then it leaves me 3 flowers in that pack to use on a future layout. So I set those aside, and I get out my heat gun to help dry those. And then I bring in my background, which is now dry. And the pictures I'm going to do are these, and we had planted vetch as a cover crop, and it was just gorgeous, all that purple. And at night, when the sun would start going down, it would really bring out the purple in the field. And you can see there how purple everything looks. The trees above are still being hit by light, but the field below was starting to be in shadow, and that's what I wanted to talk about. And the top was just a little bit too bright, so I'm going to go ahead and cover that up, because the story I'm telling is more about how rich and dark those purples would get. So I'm just going to glue those together as a photo block, and that's how I'm going to do it. And then these are the 2 kind of clusters I'm going to make, one on the bottom left and one on the top left. I'm liking that, but it needs some green tendrils to connect all those flowers. So I pull the Spellbinders out, and it has some tendrils in it that look like vetch, so it was perfect. And then this Momented die also has a tendril in it I use. This Spellbinders die with the daisy on it, I do cut out some leaves, but I don't wind up using any of them. And it was just so cool how these look like vetch vines. Now the flowers don't look like vetch at all, but I guess this isn't, you know, a realistic representation of vetch. It's just purple and green flowers to support my photos and to bring out the flowers in the photos. So it's just kind of supporting my story. But it was cool that some of those vines, I think, were based on vetch or vining flowers. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. I'm kind of liking that. And so I go ahead, I'm going to wind up putting this down with my glue gun. So I go ahead and I turn on my glue gun and get that warming up. And while it warms up, I go ahead and I do back my photo block on some of this fun foam. This is just kids foam that you can get from Walmart. It has adhesive on one side so you can stick it to the back of your photos. And then I'm going to use some double-sided super sticky tape to then tape it down. And I do go ahead and mount this on foam. I wouldn't have to because the flowers are really giving quite a bit of dimension already, but I just like the thought of having the photo block up off the page so that the tendrils can really wrap around it. So I go ahead and get the adhesive stuck down on that. And when I go to do a lot of my embellishing, I choose gold embellishments, mostly because you can see that green mist has gold in it already. So that's why I use gold to pull out, in my other embellishments, to pull that out of the background. And you can see that the background is being, it doesn't look so much like a hot mess anymore. Once you get your photo and your embellishments on there, the mixed media really gets pushed into the background and helps support everything. So don't be intimidated if you don't think your mixed media backgrounds are turning out great. Some people spend a lot of time on their backgrounds doing a lot of layers, letting it dry in between, and that looks great because it adds a lot of depth and stuff to it. I wasn't feeling like doing a bunch of different layers, and so I only did this one and let it dry. But it still gives a good look. So I think either way, you can get good looks from, doing multiple layers or just one if you're impatient like I was that night and just didn't feel like doing multiple layers. So I'm putting down my flowers with the hot glue, and I do have a little bit of sticky tape on the back too. And then that's sticking those tendrils down, so I'm liking that. I didn't wind up using all the tendrils that I cut, but I wasn't sure, what I was or wasn't going to use. So now I have some extra tendrils for another layout or for Happy Mail or, some other kind of project. So I'm just going to do these two clusters. I'm not going to connect them really because I want them to be two clusters and not one big cluster. So I am going to leave a little bit of space between the two, so I'm liking that. I just love all the texture that it gives. I leave the leaves kind of free off the page and don't glue them all the way down. So I'm really liking this so far, and I think it's really, setting the stage for my story that I'm telling. And so what am I off doing? Oh, I grabbed some thicker. So like I said earlier, I went ahead and went with gold since there is gold in that glimmer mist. I pull these kind of brushed gold. I think about putting the title at the top and down here at the bottom, but then I decided to just put the whole title at the top. And then there were a couple hearts on this. First I put that one, then I find this solid heart, and since it has more weight to it and it's heavier, I go ahead and put it at the bottom. And then I put the lighter outlined heart up in the top of my cluster. And that just kind of pulls the gold accents down around the whole page. And then I go off to my stash to grab, I think, some purple paper, because I decide that I do want to back this layout and to have a little bit more of that dark purple color showing through. So I grab this purple cardstock, and then I'm just going to cut some off each side just so that that purple shows on each side. And I take my distressing tool and just kind of distress the edges. So I'm going to do it on the other side as well. And then I want that one a little more distressed. I wind up even ripping it and tearing it a little bit more. So I'm liking that. And I think about letting some show at the top, but I decide no, I just want it on each edge. And again, I'm going to use the super sticky tape all over the background there to hold this down. And it's going to help to kind of make everything lay flat as well. Because you know, whenever you use gesso, it warps a little bit. This didn't warp too bad. You can see it's pretty flat. But putting on the backer paper is going to make it even flatter. So just go and pull this is the hardest part when you don't have fingernails. Is getting the little strips off of your double-sided tape. And then I put glue stick in between, because whenever I can, I like to use both a dry glue like a tape runner and a wet glue like a glue stick or actual wet glue. And I just go ahead and kind of stretch that onto the background paper, so I'm really loving that touch of purple on each side. You know, it kind of hugs or bookends the layout in between the two purple sides. And then I go into my stash for some word stickers, and I knew I had some that were gold and white, so I thought that would work really well. So I go pull those, and I wind up, I think, using, let's see, I think it's a Maggie Holmes. Yeah, this one here, because it has the white and gold and it's small words, and I thought that would work really well. And it had enough things that would, phrases that worked with my layout that would fit with the story I was telling. Although they're not very sticky, so I had to wind up going back with the hot glue and sticking them down. But I just want to put a couple in the clusters and then one right below my title. And there I could see it wasn't really sticking. So I go ahead and pull it up. And I'm just going to use a tiny, tiny bit of hot glue just to help it. And that's a hard thing with those small stickers, not to get the hot glue on your hands. So I'm just having those two strips come out of the side of that heart. And the one on my photo was sticking really well, but the others, you know, being on textured cardstock and with that clear gesso in the background and the ink and stuff, they just weren't going to stick. And then I pull out some puffy stickers, and that's going to be my third texture on here, my third type of embellishment. And I have those gold ones, but I thought, no, I want to color. And these Chamel hearts had some of the perfect purple in there. So I go ahead and I'm going to pull some of those purple hearts through my clusters. And I just really love that touch of purple in there. And that was just perfect. So I really love how this turns out. Now my last thing to do is just to do my journaling on here. And what I do is I normally journal in pencil, then go back over it in pen, and then erase my pencil. And there I am, just getting rid of the glue strands from the hot glue. And then I erase my pencil lines there and any marks. And that is my completed layout. So I really love how it turned out. It was pretty simple, and yet it's helping me get back into the mixed media after setting up here at my new craft area. And yeah, so if you guys have any questions on this or anything, just leave them down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate, you know, your kind comments and your thumbs up, and, you know, just being part of the crafting community. And I'm going to do some close-ups here, I think. I was watching a movie while I was doing this, so I was a little divided in my attention at times. There we go. So there you can see the flowers with the purple ink on them. the splatters in the background, all the different shiny gold bits, all the tendrils. Yeah, I really love how it turned out, and it was real simple to do. So again, if you have any questions, leave them down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.